There comes a moment in every seeker's life when the questions they carry inside grow louder than the noise of the world outside. Questions that whisper in the quiet of the night. Why do my desires feel so far away? Why does the reality I long for resist me, no matter how hard I try? In that fragile space between yearning and surrender, the human spirit discovers something essential. Manifestation is not about forcing life to obey, but about learning how to align with the silent architecture that already shapes every possibility. To tune into this truth is to step into a way of being where effort bends toward ease, and where the impossible begins to soften at the edges, becoming not only reachable, but inevitable. The heart of manifestation is not a checklist of rituals or a collection of affirmations repeated until exhaustion. It is an intimate dance between intention and energy, between the clarity of what you want and the vibration you carry as you live each moment. Science calls it coherence, mystics call it resonance, and the wise call it faith. But beyond all names lies the same realization. Your state of being is the magnet that draws life toward you. If your body holds tension, if your mind carries fear, if your words echo doubt, the universe listens to that frequency more than it listens to your spoken wishes. The process of manifestation asks not for perfection but for presence, not for relentless striving but for surrender into the flow of coherence between mind, body, and spirit. This journey is not abstract. It unfolds in the ordinary choices you make daily, the way you breathe in the face of anxiety, the way you hold yourself when disappointment visits, the way you trust even when the results are not yet visible. Each act is a brushstroke painting the field around you, and this field is what determines how reality answers. To understand this is to claim both responsibility and freedom. You are not a victim of randomness, nor are you a puppet of chance. You are a participant in the vast interplay of energy and consciousness, and the quality of your participation defines the quality of what you receive. In this video, we will walk slowly but deliberately through the terrain of alignment and manifestation. We will explore the subtle blockages that drain your energy, the practices that restore your coherence, and the perspectives that allow you to step out of urgency and into flow. Along the way, you will find that the art of manifestation is not about doing more, but about being more authentic, more aligned, more attuned to the deeper rhythm of the universe. And as you open yourself to this rhythm, you will begin to notice the extraordinary truth. When your inner field resonates with clarity, reality cannot help but rearrange itself to match it. This is not magic, it is law, it is coherence, and it is yours to practice, yours to embody, yours to claim, yours to... There is a silence that lingers beneath the surface of modern life, a silence that no amount of noise can truly erase. Many who seek to manifest a new reality feel it in quiet moments, when the world slows down and their own reflection stares back at them. It is the silence of disconnection, the sense that something essential has been lost, the bridge between their inner longing and the outer circumstances they inhabit. This disconnection does not come all at once. It seeps in slowly, through disappointments, through broken promises, through the endless pursuit of goals that once carried meaning, but eventually turned hollow. People wake up realizing that the rituals they practice, the affirmations they repeat, and the dreams they chase often feel like they are floating in the air, unattached to the soil of their true being. This is not failure, but a signal. The universe is whispering that manifestation does not begin with words or visions. It begins with the healing of this silent fracture. The roots of disconnection often grow from the soil of unresolved emotions. Grief that was never expressed, fear that was hidden under forced smiles, and anger that was buried in the name of peace all shape the energetic field in which a person lives. Every unacknowledged wound becomes a knot in the vibrational fabric of the self, making it harder for new realities to flow into form. To manifest without tending to these inner scars is like planting seeds in ground that has never been tilled. They may sprout for a moment, but they cannot take root deeply enough to withstand the storms of life. The first step is not about reaching upward toward the stars, but looking inward, into the spaces where the soul feels forgotten, and offering presence there. Only when the soil is softened by compassion can the seeds of intention truly grow. Yet many resist this step, for it requires courage to sit with one's own pain. The culture of endless positivity often teaches that negative emotions must be erased or denied, as if they hold no spiritual value. But denial does not dissolve pain, it calcifies it. The truth is that every emotion, even the heaviest, is a messenger. Sadness speaks of lost love, fear warns of the desire for safety, anger testifies to boundaries crossed. When we listen without judgment, these emotions transform from barriers into guides, leading us closer to our authentic vibration. Spiritual alignment is not about silencing the shadow, but about integrating it into a wider light. Consider the person who feels stuck repeating the same cycles of self-sabotage. They may meditate daily, visualize abundance, and write down affirmations, but the outcomes never change. The reason is rarely that their technique is wrong. It is often because beneath the surface lies an unspoken belief: I do not deserve better. This belief, rooted in old wounds, radiates as strongly as any spoken intention. The universe responds not only to the conscious request, but also to the unconscious frequency. Until the hidden belief is met with awareness and compassion, it will continue to shape reality in ways that contradict the seeker's desires. Manifestation, therefore, is not simply about directing energy outward. It is about harmonizing the whole field of consciousness, both seen and unseen. This hidden disconnection also appears as a loss of purpose. Many people find themselves working tirelessly, building careers or relationships that no longer carry the spark of meaning. They live in patterns that keep them busy but empty, efficient but unfulfilled. In such a state, manifestation becomes a desperate attempt to escape rather than a joyful act of creation. The energy of desperation carries urgency, and urgency narrows the field of possibility. The person is no longer creating with the universe but demanding from it, as if reality were a reluctant servant rather than a partner. True manifestation asks not for escape, but for presence, for the courage to stand still and ask, what is the life my soul longs for beyond fear, beyond expectation? Only then does intention become aligned with the deeper current of existence. The beauty of this realization is that healing disconnection does not require monumental acts. It begins with small, deliberate gestures of reconnection, a morning moment of silence, not to force thoughts away but to listen to what arises, a walk without headphones, allowing the body to feel the rhythm of breath and earth, a conversation with oneself, spoken aloud, where the heart is allowed to confess its true desires without censorship. These are not grand rituals, but gentle reminders that alignment is built in ordinary moments. As these moments accumulate, the field shifts. The individual begins to feel less like a fragment, drifting alone, and more like a thread woven into the vast tapestry of life. There is also a collective dimension to this disconnection. Many carry the burden of cultural or familial narratives that told them what they could or could not become. These inherited voices echo in the subconscious, shaping choices and silencing authentic desires. Breaking free from them is not an act of rebellion against the past, but an act of liberation for the future. When one person chooses to rewrite these narratives, they create new possibilities, not only for themselves, but for generations to come. Manifestation, in this sense, becomes a collective healing, a ripple that extends beyond the individual and touches those connected to them. Ultimately, the hidden disconnection is not an enemy, but an invitation. It asks us to stop chasing results and start tending to the roots of our being. It asks us to replace the urgency of "when will it happen?" with the patience of "I am becoming." It reminds us that manifestation is not about bending reality to our will, but about softening our will into harmony with reality. When this harmony is restored, the impossible begins to yield, and the manifestations that once felt distant start to appear as natural expressions of who we are. In this way, the journey of manifestation becomes not only a path to desires fulfilled, but a return to wholeness, where every wound is honored, every emotion is welcomed, and every step is guided by the quiet assurance that the universe moves with us, not against us. In the quiet rhythm of daily life, urgency often creeps in unnoticed, wearing the mask of discipline and ambition. Many who walk the path of manifestation feel an almost constant pressure to achieve results quickly, as though the universe were a reluctant partner that must be persuaded through intensity and speed. Yet urgency, while it may look like focus on the outside, often carries a subtle weight that bends the spirit downward. It creates a tension between what is desired and what is lived, a constant reminder that the present moment is not yet enough. This weight is heavy not because the dream is unworthy, but because the dream has been wrapped in the expectation of time, and time, when pressed too tightly, resists the hand that tries to control it. The pressure of urgency feeds on comparison. One person looks at the progress of another, measures it against their own, and feels behind before their journey has even unfolded. This comparison is rarely about truth. It is a distorted mirror that reflects not the beauty of another's path, but the inadequacy one projects onto themselves. In this distorted mirror, manifestation loses its intimacy and becomes performance. The individual is no longer co-creating with the universe, but racing against an invisible clock, afraid that opportunities will slip away if they do not act faster, speak louder, or demand more. Yet manifestation does not bloom in the soil of panic. It requires patience like a seed planted deep in the earth, waiting for the precise balance of warmth and rain. At the heart of urgency lies fear. Fear of being left behind, fear of not being worthy, fear that life's treasures are limited and fleeting. This fear often disguises itself as productivity, as constant motion, as the belief that one must always be doing more to attract more. But the universe does not respond to the volume of activity. It responds to the quality of presence. 1,000 hurried actions taken from fear carry less resonance than one action born from alignment. To recognize this is to free oneself from the false economy of urgency. Life is not counting the hours against you. It is waiting for you to notice that the door has always been open, and rushing toward it only makes you stumble at the threshold. The paradox is that urgency does not speed the process of manifestation, it slows it down. When the mind races ahead, the body contracts, and the heart's rhythm loses coherence. This incoherence creates noise in the energetic field, making it harder for clarity to take root. It is like trying to tune into a delicate frequency while static fills the airwaves. The more desperately you turn the dial, the more distorted the sound becomes. Only when you slow down, when you soften your hand and listen carefully, does the signal emerge with purity. The same is true for manifestation. Stillness sharpens the signal, while urgency distorts it. There is wisdom in surrendering urgency without surrendering desire. Desire is the flame that lights the path, but urgency is the wind that flickers it into chaos. To hold the flame steady, one must learn to balance longing with trust. Trust does not mean passive waiting. It means active presence. It means tending to what is within reach, while allowing the larger movements of life to unfold in their own rhythm. Trust means recognizing that the universe has its seasons, and that no amount of forcing will make spring arrive in winter. When you align with the natural timing of your life, you step out of the pressure of urgency and into the flow of inevitability. Examples of this can be seen in the way creative breakthroughs happen. An artist may struggle for weeks to find the right expression, only to discover it effortlessly one morning after releasing the need to control the outcome. A writer may labor over words until they set the pen down in frustration, only for inspiration to pour forth in the silence that follows. These are not accidents. They are the fruit of releasing urgency, of allowing the deeper intelligence of life to move when it is ready. Manifestation follows the same law. When urgency is released, space is created, and in that space the impossible begins to find its way. Urgency also traps people in cycles of disappointment. Each unmet deadline, each unfulfilled expectation becomes evidence for the mind that manifestation does not work. This evidence accumulates until faith itself is eroded. But the failure was never in the process. It was in the timeline imposed upon it. By releasing urgency, one releases the need for immediate proof and begins to trust in the unfolding. Manifestation then becomes less about arriving at a specific point in time and more about expanding into the fullness of being. The irony is that when urgency is dropped, results often come faster, because the field is no longer clouded with the static of resistance. The path beyond urgency requires practice, and the practice begins with awareness. Notice the moments when impatience rises, when you feel compelled to force an outcome, when your chest tightens at the thought of waiting. Instead of pushing harder, pause, breathe. Ask yourself whether this urgency is coming from alignment or from fear. If it is fear, honor it, but do not let it lead. Allow it to be part of your experience without giving it the steering wheel. In this way, urgency itself becomes a teacher, reminding you each time it arises that you are invited back into presence, back into trust, back into the rhythm that has no clock but the heartbeat of the universe. As urgency softens, manifestation regains its sacredness. It is no longer a race to achieve, but a relationship to cultivate. Each step becomes meaningful, not only because of where it leads, but because of what it reveals in the moment. You begin to notice the subtle synchronicities, the quiet affirmations that you are not alone in this journey. Life becomes less about chasing and more about receiving, less about proving and more about being. And in this shift, you discover that the manifestations you sought were never as distant as you believed. They were waiting just beyond the veil of urgency, ready to appear the moment you trusted enough to slow down and let them. Beneath every spoken intention lies a quieter current, one that carries more weight than any affirmation or ritual. This current is the language of belief, the invisible script that runs within the mind and body, shaping not only how a person thinks, but how they vibrate in the field of existence. Beliefs are not neutral thoughts. They are living codes that instruct the nervous system, influence perception, and filter the infinite possibilities of reality into a narrow stream of what feels possible. When beliefs are expansive, the world opens like a horizon after a storm. When beliefs are constricted, reality appears as a closed corridor, no matter how loudly the heart cries for more. To understand this is to recognize that manifestation does not begin with intention, but with the unspoken words we hold about ourselves and the world. Consider the subtle power of language. When someone says, "I always fail," those words are not merely descriptive, they are performative. They create a loop where the body tenses, the heart rate increases, and the subconscious prepares for failure before the event even unfolds. In contrast, shifting the statement to "I have not yet succeeded" carries an entirely different vibration. The body hears possibility rather than closure, movement rather than stagnation. Belief is not just intellectual, it is somatic. It roots itself in the muscles, in the breath, in the rhythms of the heart. To change a belief is not only to rewrite a sentence in the mind, but to invite the body into a new state of openness. The challenge is that many beliefs are inherited rather than chosen. Families, cultures, and societies hand down invisible scripts about money, love, worth, and possibility. A child who grows up hearing that wealth is corrupt or that dreams are unrealistic internalizes these voices long before they are old enough to question them. By the time they seek to manifest a new life, these beliefs act like silent guardians at the gates of possibility, blocking what feels unsafe according to the old narrative. The individual may affirm abundance, but deep inside, the inherited voice whispers, "You are not meant for that." Without awareness, this whisper becomes the louder truth, undermining every attempt to manifest. Yet belief is not destiny. What has been inherited can be examined, questioned, and transformed. The first step is recognition, to pause and listen to the words that rise uninvited in moments of challenge. Do they echo scarcity, unworthiness, fear of loss, or do they carry trust, worthiness, and openness? This act of listening reveals the architecture of the subconscious. It is not about judgment, but about awareness. Awareness shines a light on the places where the inner script contradicts the outer desire. Once this light is present, transformation can begin. Transformation of belief does not happen by force. Telling oneself the opposite of a deeply held conviction rarely works because the body knows the difference between authenticity and pretense. True transformation requires gentleness, repetition, and embodiment. It begins with small adjustments, with language that feels believable yet expansive. Instead of saying, "I am a millionaire," when the body knows it is not, one might begin with, "I am opening myself to new levels of financial flow." The body can accept this as truth, and over time, as the evidence accumulates, the statement evolves into greater strength. Belief grows like a muscle. It must be exercised gradually, with care, until it becomes strong enough to hold new realities. There is a profound connection between belief and attention. What we believe determines what we notice. A person convinced that opportunities are rare will overlook them even when they are abundant, because the mind is trained to filter them out. In contrast, someone who believes that life is generous will find proof of generosity everywhere. The same world presents itself, but the lens of belief colors what is seen. This is why shifting belief is not only about creating new thoughts, but about reorienting attention. When attention is directed toward evidence of alignment, the belief is reinforced, and the cycle becomes self-sustaining. The danger of unexamined belief is that it perpetuates cycles of self-sabotage. A person who secretly believes they are undeserving of love may unconsciously push away partners, misinterpret affection as threat, or settle for less than they desire. Each failed relationship then becomes proof of the belief, deepening its roots. This cycle continues until the belief itself is challenged. Once challenged, the cycle can be broken, and a new pattern of experience emerges. In this way, manifestation is not about attracting something new, but about releasing the old scripts that were never truly ours. There is also a sacred responsibility in the language we choose to carry. Words spoken repeatedly become rituals, shaping not only personal experience but also the collective field. When we shift from narratives of lack to narratives of abundance, we contribute to a larger resonance that touches others around us. This is why communities of faith, meditation, or shared intention often create accelerated results. It is not merely the individual belief, but the collective vibration that strengthens the field. Manifestation, then, is not only personal, but communal, a weaving of voices into a chorus that calls reality into being. At its deepest level, the language of belief is a mirror of identity. To say, "I am unlucky," is not simply to describe circumstances, but to define the self. To say, "I am becoming more aligned," is to allow identity to evolve with openness. Manifestation responds to identity more than to fleeting desires. The universe listens to the "I am" at the core of each being and arranges circumstances accordingly. This is why transformation of belief is so vital. When the "I am" changes, the field of possibility changes with it. The invitation, then, is not to fight against beliefs, but to cultivate them consciously, to treat words as sacred vessels, carrying frequencies that shape the unseen, to listen carefully to the inner dialogue and choose, with compassion, which voices to amplify and which to release. In this process, manifestation ceases to be an act of chasing outcomes and becomes an act of becoming aligned with the language that reflects our true essence, becoming a living expression of the abundance already present in the field of existence. And as we align belief with intention and intention with presence, the boundaries of possibility dissolve, leaving only the quiet certainty that what is sought is already on its way, waiting to be received by the one who finally believes it is possible. There is a quiet rhythm pulsing beneath every act of creation, a rhythm that the human mind often resists. We are taught from an early age that effort alone brings results, that the more we push, the more we will achieve. Yet manifestation obeys a different law, one that honors balance over force and timing over impatience. This law reveals itself in the rhythm of surrender, the willingness to release control while remaining deeply engaged with life. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means recognizing the difference between what belongs to your influence and what belongs to the larger flow of the universe. To walk this line is to discover a freedom that urgency cannot provide and a peace that striving alone will never uncover. The challenge is that surrender is often misunderstood as weakness. In a culture that prizes dominance, surrender looks like passivity, as if it were the opposite of power. But true surrender is an act of profound courage. It requires acknowledging that there are forces at play beyond the reach of personal will, and that these forces are not enemies, but partners in creation. To surrender is to trust that the unseen is working in harmony with your intention, even when no visible progress has yet appeared. It is to continue walking while releasing the obsession with how long the road will be or what exact shape the destination will take. This rhythm of surrender can be felt in the natural world. Rivers do not force themselves to flow straight. They curve, meander, and adapt to the landscape, and yet they always reach the sea. Trees do not strain to grow faster. They align themselves with the seasons, expanding in their time and resting when necessary. Nature teaches us that surrender is not inactivity. It is the wisdom of moving with the current rather than against it. When human beings resist this rhythm, life feels like a constant battle. When they align with it, manifestation unfolds as a natural extension of being, as effortless as breath. The tension between surrender and control often reveals itself in moments of uncertainty. When the future is unclear, the instinct is to grip tighter, to demand guarantees, to search for signs that everything will unfold as desired. Yet this gripping only narrows the flow of possibility, creating more resistance. Surrender, on the other hand, widens the field. It allows for outcomes beyond what the limited mind can imagine. By loosening control, we make space for the intelligence of the universe to arrange connections, coincidences, and opportunities that our own planning could never orchestrate. What looks like risk is actually the deeper security of aligning with a force greater than ourselves. The experience of surrender often begins in the body. A clenched jaw, tight shoulders, or shallow breath are signs that control is being forced. When one releases the breath fully, relaxes the chest, and softens the gaze, the nervous system shifts into openness. In this state, surrender is no longer an abstract idea, but a felt experience. It becomes clear that surrender is not about abandoning effort, but about releasing tension. It is the difference between forcing a door open and noticing that it was unlocked all along. Examples from everyday life show how surrender creates unexpected openings. A person searching desperately for work may find no opportunities until they release their frantic urgency and begin to trust their preparation. In the space created by surrender, a chance conversation or unexpected message arrives with precisely the opportunity they had been waiting for. A relationship strained by attempts to control may find harmony again when one partner releases the need to dictate every detail and instead listens with openness. These shifts are not coincidences. They are the natural result of moving from force into alignment. Surrender also invites us to redefine success. Instead of measuring progress solely by external results, surrender teaches us to value the inner state of peace and alignment. It asks us to see each step as meaningful, whether or not it immediately produces the outcome we desire. This perspective dissolves the cycle of disappointment and replaces it with trust in the unfolding. The journey itself becomes sacred, and in honoring the journey, the destination arrives without strain. There is a paradox here. Surrender does not slow manifestation, it accelerates it. By releasing resistance, the energy once spent on control becomes available for clarity and inspired action. The mind becomes more creative, the body more receptive, and synchronicities more visible. It is as if the universe had been waiting all along for us to step aside and allow its intelligence to move. The act of surrender signals readiness, and readiness draws the impossible into form. The rhythm of surrender is not a one-time act, but a daily practice. It is woven into small choices, releasing the need to know every answer, trusting the timing of a delayed response, embracing the silence between actions. These small acts accumulate, reshaping the field in which we live. Over time, surrender becomes less a conscious decision and more a natural state of being. It becomes the quiet confidence that even when the path is unclear, the ground beneath is steady and the horizon ahead is certain. To live in surrender is to recognize that we are not separate from the universe but expressions of it. Just as the tide trusts the pull of the moon and the seed trusts the warmth of the sun, so too can we trust the unseen forces that guide our unfolding. In this trust, the weight of urgency dissolves, the fear of failure softens, and the heart opens to receive what has always been waiting. Manifestation, then, ceases to be a struggle for control and becomes a dance with the rhythm of surrender, where every step is guided, every pause is purposeful, and every outcome is aligned with the deeper harmony of existence. At the end of this journey, what becomes clear is that manifestation is not about manipulating life into obedience, but about aligning with its deeper intelligence. It is not the constant repetition of words or the desperate chase for signs, but the steady cultivation of a state in which mind, body, and spirit breathe as one. We began by facing the hidden disconnection, acknowledging the fractures within ourselves that long for healing. We moved through the weight of urgency, discovering that speed and force often slow us down, while trust and patience accelerate the flow. We examined the language of belief, recognizing that the words we hold silently are often more powerful than the ones we speak aloud. And finally, we stepped into the rhythm of surrender, the dance that transforms control into partnership and resistance into flow. This return to wholeness is not a single revelation, but an ongoing practice. It is lived in the quiet choices of each day, the breath you take when fear rises, the compassion you extend to your own wounds, the patience you carry when timing feels uncertain. These choices recalibrate your field, teaching the universe that you are ready to receive not only what you desire, but also what you are truly aligned with. The process is gradual, yet it is inevitable. For the moment you step into coherence, the field begins to shift, and reality must follow. Manifestation, in its truest form, is not about acquiring but about becoming. Becoming the person who naturally lives in resonance with abundance, who carries peace even in silence, who trusts the unseen currents that shape the visible world. In this becoming, the impossible dissolves. What once felt distant now unfolds as the most natural extension of who you are. And in this unfolding, you realize that the universe was never withholding anything from you. It was waiting for you to remember that you were always part of it, inseparable from its flow, already complete. Before you leave, I want to leave you with one question that carries the essence of this journey. What would your life look like if you finally trusted enough to let go of control and step fully into alignment with the rhythm of the universe? Sit with that question, let it echo in your heart, and allow the answer to guide your next steps. If this message has spoken to you, I invite you to subscribe to the channel so you can continue walking this path with us. Every new video is created to support your journey, to remind you of the strength and light you already carry. Stay connected, stay present, and allow these teachings to unfold in your daily life. And as this video comes to an end, don't stop here. Continue your journey by watching the next video on the screen. It is waiting to take you even deeper into the art of manifestation and the beauty of living in alignment with the universe.